Welcome to the NBA Champion edition of Free Association. I'm JD Bunkis, joined to my left, Faizal Khamisa, not Donovan Bennett. Donovan Bennett taking in what must be the world's most important wedding. Whoever's wedding Donovan Bennett is currently at, let it be known he loves you dearly, like so dearly. You are a close friend. I don't know if I have a friend on earth I love that much. Like, do you?
I would have not been friends with that person going forward.
Yeah.
And it would have been simple and it would have been okay.
You just
it would
have
have been
to-
justified. Be like, sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
We're not friends anymore.
You don't even put in a phone call for that one. You write a beautiful letter with like a real ink pen.
Nah, that comes with a text. Be like,
Yeah.
look, can't make it. Deleting your number. Like, that's it. That's the end of it. You
Hey.
know? That's it. Just go out.
No, we're not friends anymore.
That's it.
It is what it is. I got to watch this Raptors game. I got to make the content. You and I were both here last night.
Yeah.
Creating content of our own.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at you and Danielle Michaud, and I think you guys were so in shock and so sleep deprived that you didn't know what I was doing.
No, we saw you, but we were working. So
Yeah,
we were like,
you
you couldn't really interact, right? We got a camera here looking at us. And so we're like, JD's being JD.
So I was just
We can't do anything about this.
being disrespectful to the work. Hey,
Yes.
here's the thing. You have to interact with me now. This is how this
I know,
works.
this
This
is
is how I
forced.
tricked
This
you
is
into do
forced.
this. I know, like you're here and now you're on camera.
I'm happy to do it because
Yeah.
the Raptors won the NBA championship. Only that reason would get me in here again to talk to you. I almost said no, but I was like, no, they won the championship.
Every
gotta
time
do it.
I say it,
Yeah.
I finish with like I can't believe it.
It's real, right? Like I woke up after my alarm went off. I ran to do radio, and I was like, wait, I'm running to do radio to talk about the Raptors as NBA champions. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
I've noticed that the best hangover cure in my life has just been your team has won a championship. Nothing will get you out of bed and let you seize the day quite like
So how many times have you experienced that?
That's two.
Two.
Well, this is one really, like
Yeah.
one in the city. I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan.
Yeah,
so
I mean, yes, it counts kind of.
it counts,
right?
but it's
like
not
you're
like
here
that. Yeah.
for this, right?
And
Here.
Yeah, and you and I were both downtown last night.
Yes.
And I said it reminded me of Mad Max because there's just like hollowed out vehicles and it was
Yes.
like tribes, you know, like there
Yes,
was like
like
the bus
on them,
tribe,
on
you
them,
know,
yeah.
like people on the buses, in the buses hollowed out. And then everywhere you looked, who knew Toronto was so good at climbing? Like if we had a citywide rock climbing contest, we would kick ass.
That'd be amazing, yeah.
Like, we would just be so good. There was people up on poles. There were people up on every single ledge, every single awning. I had an absolute blast down there. The people
Yeah.
were celebrating. It was fireworks everywhere. Also, really wish I bought fireworks stock in Toronto.
Would have been
last week.
good. Would have
I was
been
like,
good.
who has them all?
Instead of going out last night, if you lined up to get any kind of championship gear, I imagine there's a resale market for that sold out gear today
Man.
as well. People are going bananas, obviously, understandably. Dropped some mad coin in the heat of the moment last night as well.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to get the first t-shirt.
Yeah.
Like, it'll come. It's okay, Faisal, but no, got to
Yeah.
get it right away. And
Hey.
so, yeah, a lot of regrets.
No, you'll never
Not
regret it
regret.
when
Not
you
a
wear it.
regret. That you're right. Not a regret.
You'll never regret those shirts when you wear them, those hats, those whatever you end up buying. The only thing the only stuff that you end up regretting is like when you start to go overboard and be like, I guess I probably need a fridge magnet too. Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna need a championship thing.
Yep.
Keychain, gonna need it.
Oh, that mini Larry
Shoelaces.
O'Brien trophy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Put that this place in my house,
Yeah.
you know? Put that over the
Oh.
my kids won the championship. You know, get all the bobbleheads, you know?
Yeah, we're gonna need a mock Larry O'Brien for the office.
Everything's
from
gonna
now
end
on.
up in this studio because I'm gonna regret and not have room to put it. And I'm like, oh, this will look like good decoration for
Yeah,
this digital
donate.
studio. You know? Yeah, donate.
You
Yeah.
know what was one of my first thoughts actually when they won, strangely enough, was they're gonna get one of the championship patches on the jersey next year.
Yes, that's an Instacop.
And
Immediate purchase.
and you can never take that away
Nope.
from the Toronto Raptors.
You can take away Kawhi Leonard. You can.
God, I hope
You
they
can
don't,
take
though.
away Masai Ujiri for the right amount of money, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Can't take away that gold patch at the back of the jersey.
So let's dive into. Let's start with that game, and then we'll go into
Sure,
some
yeah,
of the greater
yes.
narrative things. Because going into that ball game, I thought the Warriors were going to stake themselves to a pretty big lead. I thought it was going to be kind of similar to the Game 5 game script, where
So I'm curious as to what made you believe that. Like,
Well,
what made you think that they were going to come out on fire?
I just thought that it's the last game at Oracle, that they were going to be really pumped up about going out there and winning one for KD. And they're the Golden State Warriors. Like, they're the greatest shooting team of all time. They're headlined by multiple Hall of Famers. I kind of anticipated a good game from Andre Iguodala. I didn't think he was going to be outscoring Kawhi Leonard until the dying seconds of the basketball game and hitting threes and at the buzzer with guys in his face. But I really thought that they are they start well. And they were going to come out shooting strong. They were going to come out with the most energy. The Raptors might have a little bit of, I can't believe that we're here. And we needed to see it. I've seen the Warriors in that spot before. I hadn't seen the Raptors in that spot.
Yeah, but you know what? I haven't seen these Warriors in that spot before. I think the Raptors, I was joking, this was a 6-game sweep. The Raptors were the better team for all 6 of the games. There was a portion of game 2, yes, the Warriors went on that massive, crazy run. All right, they won the game. Game 5 was a 1-point difference. The Raptors hit, 2 more threes? They win that game, I thought the Raptors' defense is what stood out to me the entire series. They always found a way to muck things up for the Warriors defensively, get them out of rhythm. And so, Kyle Lowry scores 11 by himself, but the number that stood out was 2. It was 11-2 to start the Raptors game. And this is, with Game 6 Klay going off until he got hurt and Steph, hitting a couple, I thought the Raptors had full control of that game. And there are moments, again, where they lost parts of it. But, man, in the entire series, what I've been impressed with is how they never, ever, ever, ever allowed a massive Warriors run to either affect them or lose them the game early. Every game came down to it, right?
But that was why I was feeling still confident they would be fine in the game.
Yep.
I just thought it was a matter of keep it close enough that down the stretch, Kawhi Leonard can do his third quarter thing where he scores a bunch at the beginning of the third, he closes a bunch at the end of the third, and then you're down a few points, and then you beat them in that fourth quarter.
Well, can we say that Kawhi had a really bad last 2 offensive games? We can admit that his last 2 offensive games, minus that fourth quarter in Game 5, were really non-Kawhi-like, right?
It was a little anticlimactic.
Sure.
It was a little anticlimactic for a player that just finished third all-time in
points
scoring.
in the postseason, right?
In postseason scoring. But that being said, I'll say this about both Kawhi performances. One is that in Game 5, he was incredible for that stretch in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
And he does an excellent job of just when you think he's done, just when you think he's just got nothing left in the gas tank, and you're just okay, naturally this makes finished. He puts on 10 unanswered points, and even in that game where Kawhi was not at his very best, but it was also there's a difference between what was Game 5, where he was missing just a ton of shots and kind of forcing his offense, versus last night where he didn't have to be the primary figure for large stretches of that game. The beginning of it, when I thought it was going to be the Warriors. And that's the thing. The Warriors were great to come out and start that game. They did have the start, I thought. Yeah. It was just that Kyle Lowry and Pascal Siakam decided that they were going to go into Super Saiyan mode. They were just incredible. Lowry scores those first 11 points. It's the fastest he's ever hit 11. Yeah. He does it in under 3 minutes. He does it with the classic Kalo dagger style, where it's just he's hitting those above the break threes and he's getting his 2 feet into the paint, and he just feels like he has those heat check moments where he just feels unstoppable.
I know.
And Siakam, after getting called out by Nick Nurse earlier that day about why he was benched in the final 9 minutes, just completely responds with it. And to a certain degree, you have to give credit to Nick Nurse playing that card correctly, knowing that his team was good enough in Game 5 to be right there and almost win, but also get that out of Pascal, where after going 0 of 12 from 3, or his last 12 threes, Siakam knocks down his first 2, and then one's above the break, and finishes with 3 threes in that ball game. And it's been one of the stories of the Raptors' entire season. But when he hits threes, when he hits that corner 3, it just opens up everything for the Raptors. And basically after he hit those, they had just about everything they wanted for the rest of the game.
Yep, and that's what it helps, right? On top of those 3 threes, he was able to take it to the rim twice in that first quarter, because now they have to respect that shot again, right? Now they have to respect that shot again. And again, I admire Nick Nurse. You seldom heard him call out players this season, ever, 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 ever. He would always just be no, we'll figure it out. He made a point to say, no, it was his defense that got him on the bench for 9 minutes, and then I question why. Still, yes, but maybe those last 2 minutes of Game 5, my guy should have been in that game. But to Nick's credit, again, pushing all the right buttons, making all the right adjustments. I thought even late in the game, again, I know they had that turnover with Danny, but they took all the big men out, had all the shooters on. Danny should have been a little bit better in terms of making that. That was weird, considering the guy's been there before. And
you think Danny Green should have been a little bit better?
Yes. Sorry.
No points.
Thank you. I don't need
losing
your sarcasm
guys
with it.
and
I'm just
turning the ball over at the end of the game and giving me a heart attack. Poor every Raptors fan that had to watch. Man, imagine that's the biggest winner of the day, right? Danny Green.
Oh God, no one's talking about that. Well, Kawhi talked about it post game on one of the post game shows. He's like, oh yeah, Danny was We knew the ball in Danny's hand was going to, be good. Like, we were going to trust him. And then he turned it over. Hey, who cares now, right? They won the championship.
Yeah.
Nothing matters anymore.
Now-
Nothing
now.
in life matters anymore.
That felt in the moment, again, as a Seahawks fan, like Marshawn Lynch not getting the ball on the 1 yard line. Like that I was going to think about this for the rest of my life. That it was like, please don't let this be the final thing I see before the lights go out. It's just Danny Green just whipping a ball into the corner, like forcing Siakam to go up and get it. But
I would have bet my life Steph Curry was going to hit that three.
Oh.
I would have bet my life. I would have bet my entire life that Steph was going to hit the three that was coming up.
But that was so Raptors close the half and they're up and you're feeling pretty decent, but also based on the way that Lowry played and Siakam played, that it could have been better.
Right, only up 3. It was like, oh man, that's not enough.
Kawhi wasn't playing that well, but Steph Curry had also been really contained. I think he was 2 of 7 at the half. Like they had done a really good job doubling him, trapping him on everything, forcing the ball out of his hands, and making the other guys beat them. And to the Warriors' credit, they did a great job of that in the first half because DeMarcus Cousins had 7 and I think Iguodala had 11. Both of those guys came up with like actual real life buckets. Draymond Green was moving the ball.
In this economy, Andre Iguodala had more points than he had since November.
He was
get out of town, and the Raptors still won.
I think Iguodala. This was a great game in terms of confirmation bias for clutch because of Fred VanVleet and Andre Iguodala.
Yeah.
Like just 2 guys that you really feel confident in big moments, actually stepping up once again in big moments. And now, like whenever I'm going to say, well, is clutch real? Is clutch not real? It's like you're going to point to a guy like Fred VanVleet. You're going to point to this game and talk about Andre Iguodala. Like when he goes into the Hall of Fame, which I truly believe he will.
I agree.
That will be the biggest case, is that people will say Andre Iguodala always stepped up when the chips were down, and he never faltered in the biggest moments, whether it was guarding LeBron James and winning his finals MVP, although that one probably should have been Steph's, or it was in Game 6 in elimination, the last game at Oracle. I think if you're a Warriors fan, you're going to remember the last game of Oracle as we would have won if Klay Thompson doesn't get hurt, and oh my God, Andre Iguodala did everything he could to try to win us that title. But I guess the second half was basically like what are the marathon, not the marathon runners, the pole. I love how I work in sports, but where they got to pass the baton and run.
Yeah, the relay guy.
meter relay.
Yes,
that's it.
Nice.
It was basically the relay where Kyle Lowry carried them for the first half, and he handed it over to Fred VanVleet and was like, all right, take us home.
Did he hand it over to Fred VanVleet, or did it just kind of happen? Because I don't think, respectfully, on this Raptors team, like even with the shots that Fred has been hitting all finals, again, and let's remember, he was unplayable 2 series ago against the 76ers. Like, unplayable. People are like, oh, Fred, 2 more years of this. My guy got a finals MVP vote. My guy got 1 finals MVP vote. Think about Fred VanVleet.
Fred didn't
bet
want
on
that.
yourself. Fred's dad didn't vote. Like that was Hubie Brown. Like that was a real NBA person that was like Fred VanVleet.
It's such a like a petty vote though. I love Fred. He had an incredible run.
Yeah.
To me, he's the second story of the Raptors title. Like when we look
All
back
right, so
on
then he
this,
deserves a vote then.
when we look back on this 10 years from now, I think that we'll remember the run as Kawhi Leonard's incredible push for the playoffs. We'll remember Game 4 against the Sixers, Game 7 against the Sixers, Game 3 against the Bucks, Game 5 against the Bucks, Game 4 against the Warriors.
Yep.
Those will be the 5 signature Kawhi Leonard games. We'll remember just
Only 5, yeah.
Well, not only 5 good games. I just mean those will be the 5 Kawhi games that I'll always say those were the ones. Like push on the brink against the Sixers, Raptors down 2-1. Kawhi drops 40 points, including a dagger 3 in Joel Embiid's eye.
Like they got blown out in Game 3, and everyone's like, "Oh, this team is done. This team is done." And then that shot over Joel, put that on my wall. Like
that is the one thing that kind of got lost in the rim bounce was how great that 3 was in Game 4.
Yeah, it might have been a better shot, right? Like again.
There's a case for it.
Nah, I'm lying. That's not the better shot, right? The buzzer beater.
Buzzer beater Game 7 kind of
yes,
tough
like
to top.
that's gonna top.
That's literally
I'm being reactive right now, and that's not fair. And we started this about Fred for some reason, but like
the thing is, those shots were all great. But no, we started this about Fred because Kawhi had to carry everyone in that Sixers series because no one else was stepping up.
Yeah,
they were kind of.
It just didn't match up well, and Kawhi's like, all right, I got you.
Siakam was out of it.
Yep.
Gasol was playing good defense.
Yep.
But his offense was mostly hesitant. Kyle Lowry was inconsistent. They couldn't go into the bench. They couldn't play Norm Powell. They couldn't play Fred VanVleet.
No.
Fred VanVleet had a game in the final, against the Sixers, where I'm pretty sure he had like 6 or 8 minutes.
Yep. 0
They
points.
put him on the floor, and he looked hesitant. He looked like he would not shoot. He had the yips. But I keep going back to this moment in the Bucks series, in that overtime game where Fred VanVleet missed a corner three. And Nick Nurse said something along the lines of, I couldn't believe he missed. I thought we were going home. I was basically celebrating when he took that shot. And we want Fred VanVleet to take that shot every single time. And there is something to be said about those big game players on a big game team, right? Like that team has Kawhi Leonard. They have Kyle Lowry.
Yep.
They have Serge Ibaka, who's been to a finals. They have a former defensive player of the year and like Olympic silver medalist in Marc Gasol. It's a veteran team. They have Danny Green, who was a runners-up for a finals MVP, was in the three-point contest this year. And who do they turn to late?
Fred.
Like when it gets tight and it gets late in the shot clock and everything looks like it's falling apart, they go to the smallest guy on the floor. I don't know if there's a parallel of that.
No, I don't. Yeah, I agree with you. Like,
It's very, you know what it reminds me of is Isaiah Thomas's run.
but except Isaiah was always going to be a star, and Fred was this guy that didn't get drafted, and
Isaiah was 60th overall though.
Right? No, I know that's true. But by the time Isaiah was in the finals,
Yeah.
everybody knew who Isaiah Thomas was.
When
Right?
Isaiah-
Nobody knew who Fred nobody knew who Fred VanVleet was up until this finals run, because still people didn't really pay attention to the Raptors as a main story in this postseason until they got there.
I mean, that's done now.
Oh well.
That's done now.
Even if it's not, who cares, right? The Raptors are the champ. It doesn't matter anymore, right? Any sort of validation people want, well, you just look at the ring. That's enough now. That's enough.
I'm glad you said it that way, because this has been one of my biggest thoughts this morning, is like the overall attitude from the fan base now is like, who cares? And for so long it was, we care so much, we care too much. Like, and I'm guilty of it too. Like, I'm not trying to project onto other people. I'm sure you've done the same thing where the Raptors have went on a winning streak, or the Raptors have been playing well, and you listen to an out-of-market podcast, or you read an article on a U.S. website, or on our show we have a guest on, and they don't seem like totally in on the Raptors or totally seem to understand it, and you just wanted that like validation, right? You want someone to tell you basically, you're good, your team is good, you can do this thing. And I think the underlying thing about that is that deep down, everybody kind of knew, not that it was a house of cards, but that it was fragile, that everything was fragile, and you needed that validation because you were kind of like, those were your wins. Your wins came from other people telling you that the Raptors were good and trying to like build that castle up. Today,
I think that's just a byproduct of life, though. People want the things that they like to be validated by others. And again, this is your
But that's what I'm
validation,
saying,
though,
though.
right? You don't know. I get it.
now it's done.
I get it. Exactly.
No one's saying that today.
Who cares now?
No one today is going to be like, wow, I hope that people give us credit. It doesn't matter because because it's undeniable. It's irrefutable.
Forget your asterisks. Forget your, you don't need a long form.
Doesn't matter.
All you need to do is look at the box score and be like, oh, yeah, we won this 4-2.
Who gets to buy the championship gear that you're talking about?
That's what I mean. Exactly. That's it now, right? And so I think it's going to change a lot of ways that we consume basketball in this country. And I don't mean we as in you and I mean we as in Canada. Like, this is it now, You got the gold patch. You're going to get a banner in the arena, not like a, hey, we won the East, hey, we won the Atlantic, hey, Bon Jovi for some reason. No, a freaking championship banner.
Bon Jovi.
Yeah, I don't know. I still don't get it, right? I don't get it. We don't have time for that. That's fine. That's fine. A championship banner, in the city where the Leafs are king, you took over. You are Joffrey Baratheon. You killed, Robert died. And I don't know if you watch Game of Thrones.
I do.
Okay, cool.
I just was kind of interested that you chose Joffrey.
Yeah, well, it just kind of came out of nowhere. Nobody saw it coming, right?
You're like the Raptors are Joffrey. Like, people are like, you're cruel. You're kind of a cruel king.
I didn't mean it that way because Joffrey was the worst. But, I mean, it just happened. And now you're here. You got to, you are the big kings in this city now. That's it.
No disrespect to the Toronto Rock, but when you go down to Scotiabank Arena and you see Toronto Rock banners during their games, and now NBA Finals banner is going to hang in that.
That's what I mean.
Stadium.
That's what I mean.
That means the world. And I'll just say that I think the inferiority complex is drastically altered. I think that some people will always have it. Some people will always feel slighted. That's going to come with being the only Canadian team, the only non-U.S. team. But for the most part, that's gone. And I think the person that deserves the most credit for that is Masai Ujiri.
Of course.
The Raptors won that series. And Kawhi was brilliant. And they don't get here without Kawhi Leonard, but they don't have Kawhi Leonard without Masai Ujiri. He never stopped building this team. And basically from the stretch of, you gotta get lucky, right?
Yep.
It's not all just talent and skill and will that wins out. you got to get lucky sometimes. And they got lucky with the Rudy Gay trade. It allowed DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry to take the reins of this team. It started a competitive cycle. They had a bunch of role players, and I think it kind of outlined a bit of the blueprint for Masai, which was, hey, you don't need to have 3 stars, 3 superstars. You do need to have a good core around a couple of all-stars or one superstar. And they kept trying to find that superstar. They kept working around the edges. He kept kind of tinkering with the formula, like, okay, can you have 2 all-stars and then a bunch of really good players? Can you have 2 all-stars and 10 really good players and a bench mob? Okay, no, you need the superstar player. You went to the wall, you lost to LeBron James again. Okay, you're going to trade a beloved figure in the city. You're going to get a superstar. You're going to take a chance. It's going to be risky. You have to work between the margins to find a superstar, right? And he found one. A lot of people weren't willing to take the risks. I think that there's been a lot of like pushback to how Masai Ujiri got Kawhi Leonard, because it's been excuse making for all the other teams that didn't go get him. But Masai did, right?
Yeah,
and
that's it, right?
Masai was at that podium
Yep.
when they got Kawhi Leonard and said the same thing he's always been saying. Like, that stuff's the old stuff, right? Why do you see yourselves this way, Toronto? Why does it always have to be about what the worst case scenario is going to be?
Not anymore.
He always believed in the city.
That's
He's
it.
a transplant.
That's why he never leaves. By the way, that's why I don't think he leaves.
I don't think he leaves
because I don't
either.
think it's over for him. It's not about this anymore.
Are you born and raised Ontario guy?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a transplant.
Okay.
So I don't see the city the same way that some people do, I think.
Okay.
As a transplant from a really tiny place in northern Canada, I can never get over how amazing this city is. It's constantly like, who wouldn't want to live here? Who wouldn't think this is the best? Oh my God, that band is in town tonight?
Yeah.
This comic is
Yes.
here? We can go here to eat? Oh my God, there's a row of these bars?
Are you okay?
Like, we can just go from this rooftop patio to this patio. Like, there's nowhere better on the planet than, everybody still holds the door for you like it's a small town in Canada. Like, we're in like northern Ontario and someone's going to hold the door for you the same. Like, I always understood what Masai Ujiri or what he was saying and the way that he felt about this city. And he just kept working at it. And finally he delivers on something that I don't think really anybody thought was possible.
I have to imagine there was doubts in his own mind as well that maybe this is
know.
never going to happen. Maybe this is never going to happen. You know, look, if they don't win this year, right? Let's say Clay and KD are healthy, right? Do the Raptors win that series? I don't know. I think it's still competitive. I don't think it's as big of a wash as people suggest
Here's the
it
thing,
might
though.
be.
We don't know.
I know, and it doesn't matter.
I know.
It doesn't matter, right? But if right, and then Kawhi ends up leaving, how defeated do you think Masai is, having to start again after being so close, so close, so close? It doesn't matter now, which is great, and the fact that it's there now, and again, I'm all about, throw your asterisks in the garbage. I don't care about that. Like, I don't want to hear the reasons why they maybe shouldn't have won. I just want to know that they won,
Here's
right?
the thing. I don't care. Again, back to the mentality. I don't care if that's what you want to talk about.
Exactly.
You want to be the person that brings
And
up
neither does
asterisks to me?
Masai
Like,
now,
cool.
right? They have the championship.
Yeah.
They did it. He built this team. And yes, Woj dampering everyone's parade 5 minutes after saying the
I gotta
Washington.
say, I'm not trying to be a total jerk here. And I don't mean, I know Woj is like a vindictive guy. There's been articles written about how he will
Sure.
destroy you. So maybe this is at my own peril. That was lame. Like, that was Bush League.
He's
I'm sorry.
doing his thing. No,
No, that's
I mean,
Bush League.
no,
I know
come
you have a
on.
job to do, but
yeah, but
Faisal,
you have a job
who needs,
to do.
Who
JD.
needs that report there? He's obviously sitting on that.
He's sitting
He
on
didn't
that.
get that. That didn't come across the wire a second ago. So he had. That's
So
what I
if
mean.
Masai, through his inebriated celebration, says, "Yeah, I'm not going to Washington," everyone's going to start trying to figure out what that means. Like, you're doing your job, Woj. He waited for the finals to end. He's doing his thing. I'm not really mad at that, and I like that we got some sort of
Marshawn Lynch retired.
definitive
and
answer.
during
I
the
like that
Super
we
Bowl.
got some sort of definitive answer from Larry Tannenbaum and said, no, like, Masai's going to get anything he wants here. Like, it made for another good moment, it made for another good quote. Michael Grange's word pasting of an article or the quote typed up on Word with the underline under one of the words. Like, no, it's all part of the cachet of last night now or this morning or whatever it was. And so, no, I think it's fine. Woj doing his thing. I just think it speaks again to what this city means to Toronto that I don't think he's going to leave.
I'll just say
This city means to Masai.
I don't think he got that text that moment.
Of course not. No. Out of respect for the finals, he waited till it was done, gave it 8 minutes, and was like, all right, it's time,
But
guys.
that's what I mean. By him kind of sitting on it and rolling it out then, it felt more like trying to take away from the moment and trying to make people think about that while they're online. Like, he would have known that every Raptor fan is on Twitter.
So I think this is
celebrating.
contradictory to everything you just said about needing that validation. Like,
But
who
it's
cares?
not about
Who
validation.
cares,
It's
right?
more just about, like, I thought it was a Bush League move by somebody.
No, man, this is like the greatest basketball reporter in the world that's sitting on something. Like, he's gonna do his thing. He doesn't care about your NBA Finals. He's not getting a ring. Like, he's doing his job, right? His job is to get. He had, what, 7,000 retweets on that Masai tweet? Man, that might have beat some of the other tweets about the championship,
He
right?
probably
So-
has more than
He knows
just
what he's
about anybody
doing.
else.
He
I
knows what
don't
he's
think
doing.
Masai is leaving either.
Yeah.
I've said before, like, the main argument for him leaving, well, the case has been outlined like this. One, he can be close to Washington. But do you think Masai Ujiri is, like, going to be breaking bread with Donald Trump?
No. But there are other
Like,
people.
Donald Trump
Donald
is gonna
Trump's not
be
the
like-
only guy in Washington.
Sure,
right?
but
I
I'm
think
just
if
saying,
you care
like-
about Giants of Africa, that's not a bad place to be and start pitching and lobbying about
But how
what you're doing.
how great has Giants of Africa been for him in Toronto?
It's true.
Like, he has,
Of course.
I think, a bigger reach that he in this country than he would in the States. Two is that it's been made that his wife is from there. Masai's from Africa. You think that in their relationship, his wife gets to complain about, like, who's far from home?
I don't know if that's how they like. Again,
I know. I'm just saying, I don't think that that's going to be a big deal. And it's not like they're that far away from Washington in the first place. The other part is, like, maybe Masai wants another challenge at some point. I don't really think that the Washington Wizards and, like, finding a way to get rid of the John Wall contract is, like, all that appealing.
Right, but again, I don't think it's about now. I think if you were to go there, there's a long-term plan there as well, right?
Sure.
Again, this didn't take him 1 year to do or 2 years to do. This took forever. It feels like, right? We remember F Brooklyn as that's 2013, man. Like, that's a lifetime ago in sports, right? But he did his thing, and so at some point, I think he will move on. But I don't think in the short term he will, because again, I don't think he's satisfied with just this one now, right? Like, I think there's a desire to want to continue to build this, continue to prove, if Kawhi leaves or not, that this team can be sustainable or competitive at least long enough to make a dent in the East and make a dent on these legacy conversations that go on in sports that I think are all overrated, but matter to some people.
Let's do one because they matter to me.
Go for it.
Kyle Lowry.
Yeah.
He's played 73 playoff games as a Toronto Raptor. Is he the greatest Raptor of all time to you?
Second, behind Kawhi Leonard.
Okay, like, Kawhi Leonard is the individually greatest, but
Yeah.
when you think of, like, who is the Toronto Raptor?
Yeah, you probably go Kyle Lowry, and I think I'm okay with that, right? Like, again, it was such a validating moment for him last night. This guy who came in here, forget the league when he got drafted and was deemed to be uncoachable and surly and grumpy, and there's a lot of those things here, but somehow, some way, he figured it out. Somehow, some way, he figured out that there's a bigger part of this thing than yourself, and it was such a validating moment for him last night to, one, have that game, okay, and two, just the moment with Masai, the hug with Masai. There was such tension between the two of them to start this season that we know of, and I love it too. And it's all about what makes this league so amazing. It just happened to happen in front of our eyes for once, which was great to watch. And so, I think he goes down as the greatest, in totality, the greatest Raptor to have done this over a long period of time, and I don't think it's that much of a conversation. I really don't.
No.
Respectfully, Vince, I'm sorry, DeMar, I don't even know if that's a conversation at all, but I think Kyle Lowry over everything, seriously.
DeMar is always going to be loved in the city.
Yep.
He'll always be a Toronto guy.
Yep.
I'm sure a lot of people thought of him. Actually, I saw signs that were thank you DeMar signs.
I saw signs that said DeMar died for this.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean,
exactly. Like, people still have a lot of love for DeMar DeRozan. But what you said there about totality, that's the case for Kyle Lowry, is that the overall body of work is, I think, undeniable. To me, he was always the best Raptor during the DeRozan-Lowry years. I think DeRozan 14-15 had a better season than Lowry numbers-wise. I'm going off the top of my head with this. I think, though, looking back on it, that was the one DeRozan year, or maybe it was actually, no, sorry, it was the 16 year where DeRozan made third team All-NBA. And other than that, I always thought Kyle Lowry was the better of the two. He was the guy that, like, stuffed every part of the box score. He had all those, he took those charges, he got those loose balls, he rebounded, he shot threes, he got other people involved. His, like, plus-minus stats, plus his, like, on-off court numbers. He was, remember Kyle Lowry plus the bench? Like, that was the thing before.
Oh, my gosh. That was like a year.
Yes.
Like, that was 1 year ago. Oh, my God. Kyle Lowry in the bench. That's going to be the difference this year in the playoffs when DeMar's struggling.
Yes.
Nope. Oh, my gosh.
For him to finally, the one thing he didn't have on the resume was the acceptance of, out of marketers, again, that he had turned a page in terms of his playoff narrative. Everybody here knew that basically since the Miami series, where he closed them out with a 35-point performance in Game 7, that he had flipped the script. Like, you go through Kyle Lowry's numbers, Kyle Lowry's performances.
Oh, yeah.
People relished.
The narrative
like,
was never
They lived
valid,
for
yes.
his game against Orlando,
Of
where
course
he
they
scores
did.
0 points.
Of course they did.
And he has deserved criticism in the past. Like, he has had games where he came up short. Even in this series, like when he fouled out in Game 2, I thought that was really, really tough for him. But he responded. He responded in both games. He fouled out in Game 2, and he responded in Game 3 with his best game. 23 points. I think he had 10 assists and 6 rebounds. He gets shoved by Mark Stevens, the idiot owner of the Golden State Warriors.
That was this series.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Feels
goodness.
like a million years ago.
My God, man.
But that guy kind of stole Kyle's moment. Like, it wasn't about Kyle Lowry's game. I think that if Mark Stevens doesn't shove him, the whole storyline of that game is just about how incredible Kyle Lowry was and how he responded to a difficult Game 2. And then Game 5, he had 2 opportunities to close that game. He missed a wide open three right before the Draymond block.
Yep.
And he had the turnover where he has Boogie Cousins one-on-one, he throws the ball back, and it goes over and back, and the rest is history, right?
Oh, my God.
But Game 6, again, Kyle Lowry,
forever, man.
he shows his resolve. And he shows why he's so different and the maturity that we've seen in Kyle Lowry. Like, one is he shoves Mark Stevens in the past, maybe. He incurs the suspension, and it's all downhill for the Raptors. Or Kyle Lowry has a bad game, and it snowballs into another bad game, and it just gets worse and worse and worse, and all of a sudden the Raptors are out. The new Lowry, the evolved, finished product of Lowry, is a mature, family-first, cool-minded when under pressure, response machine that comes up in big moments. And now, again, when we talk about things you can't take away that Kyle Lowry is an NBA champion.
Correct. And again, that is in this era of Raptors basketball, that will be, you talked about Fred, you looking back, that'll be your second, biggest storyline. I think to me, it's always going to be Lowry after the Kawhi.
Sentimentally, it'll always be that way.
100%. And it should be, man. Like, he's meant so much to this team. And I get DeMar probably meant a little more to this fan base, I think, just because they saw him grow from whatever he was when he drafted to when he got traded. But Kyle was always like the emotional spirit animal of this Raptors team because everyone kind of, went through him. The NBA Twitter, or Raptors Twitter at least, would defend the hell out of him through every game because he's their guy. He is their guy. Again, you don't have to do that anymore. Kyle Lowry stepped up in the biggest game of the season, had 11 points in the first 3 minutes of the game, JD. Like, think about the Kyle Lowry narrative and how far we've come to have that happen, man. It was insane to me, and that's when I knew things were probably going to be okay in that game, despite it coming down again to the very last seconds. They weren't going to waste another Kyle Lowry game like that like they did in Game 1 against Milwaukee, where he gave you everything, and then they lose the game, And so, again, I'm trying to think in my head like about narratives and where they rank, and I can't stop thinking about Kyle Lowry. And as I did radio this morning as well, it was about Kyle Lowry. Like, he's the guy on this team that people can stick with, right? Like, this team got turned over in the last few years. Pascal Siakam's only in his 3rd year. Fred's only in his third. Kyle's been here too. You've seen the ups and downs with Kyle Lowry here. He was on the bench for Jose Calderon to start his tenure in this city, right? Like, he's come a long damn way, man. And now he's, like you said, forever an NBA champion. And it's crazy.
It's nice to write narratives when you win a championship and you can look back at everything and know how it was worth it. Like, thinking about chubby, shaved head Kyle Lowry that was trying to score in the last second of the Brooklyn Nets.
Yep.
To slim, kind of jacked Kyle Lowry hugging an NBA Finals trophy and then joking around with Kawhi Leonard in the postgame about, who deserves it the most and the conversations that they had. By the way, we got to see Kawhi let loose a little bit.
Oh, my gosh. Kawhi dancing in the
Kawhi
locker
can
room.
dance.
Are you kidding me?
Kawhi can dance.
Where has that guy been?
He
Where
saves
has
it.
that
He does
guy
it one
been?
night a year.
That's
One
it.
night a year.
And then he goes home and gets 8 hours.
Yeah.
I bet you Kawhi's at the gym right now. He's like,
Eating
no, man, I got
apples,
to practice
working
my
out.
jump shot. Like, that shot off the elbow wasn't good yesterday. Like, I got to be better. Kawhi, man.
Watching
Again,
film.
to see him let loose too was like, oh, my God. A human being is there, and it's crazy.
If there's one guy who watched film on the plane, it's Kawhi, right? Like, he's on the plane. The guys are watching DVDs. They're like, oh, I'm going to watch Cars 2. He's like, I'm going to watch
I actually got to watch game film, guys.
I'm going to just see how I can improve.
Another
from that
game in 3 months, yeah.
So what is your lasting takeaway? Like, we'll tie this one up. But what will be kind of the thing that you couldn't stop thinking about? Was it Kyle? Like, what's been keeping you up?
No, it's Kawhi. It's the balls on Masai to do what he did, man. And I remember a year ago, I was hosting Tim and Sid that week. It was generally a nothing week, MLB All-Star break. Like, nothing was going on. It was myself and Carolyn Cameron.
Oh, I remember.
And the rumors were circulating the day before that, Kawhi. And everyone, the Twitter was coming in. It was like, no, you can't do this. You can't trade any of your stars for Kawhi. He doesn't want to be here. And all I kept saying on the show was Kawhi. You guys don't get it. This guy is different. And then I wake up the next morning to that trade being done, and my mentions were like, 30% people like, oh my God, we all spoke this into existence. And 70%, I can't believe they traded DeMar. And I promise you, man, I tweeted that, this is a good trade at the time. I tweeted that this was a bigger deal in Toronto than John Tavares signing with the Leafs. And I should have known, you mess with hockey Twitter, they're going to kill you. But I looked at the mentions of the people that replied to me that day who said this trade would be useless. He doesn't want to be here. He doesn't want to stay.
Can you pull that tweet out?
I'm not going to. Yeah, I'm going to try to find it. But I'm saying I would go to their mentions now, and they're all praising Kawhi Leonard. Like, it took a year, but everyone understood the cost of business here. And I didn't understand why in sports people were getting so sentimental to something that didn't lead to success. Yes, fine. You get emotionally attached to people. But isn't the goal, JD, in what we do, isn't the goal winning? Isn't the goal trying to get a championship? And Masai's like, I don't care about your feelings anymore, guys. I want to get this championship. I promised something. And I cannot believe that 11 months later, I cannot believe it happened. I just can't.
But that's why, again, for me, it's going to be two things. One is that disappearing of the inferiority complex, the no longer caring, and the complete validation of a fan base that had been downtrodden and kind of overlooked in its own market. Like you said it with hockey Twitter. Sure, the Raptors were always kind of number 2 in their own city, in their own country. Stanley Cup playoffs are on, and the Raptors are across from them. And nationally, it was kind of tough pitch, tough sell. That's different now, right? Like, that has completely changed. The landscape of what the demand for the Raptors will be forever altered. Like, they are now, they've taken their place beside the Maple Leafs and beside the Blue Jays as like Canada's team.
Yep,
like they finally got there. They were always Toronto's team, but they never had the national branding. Now you go through and Matt Devlin ran through all the watch parties last night, but like, it's packed in Regina. You knew the Golden Horseshoe was going to be packed, but it's like Regina and places in Alberta and British Columbia.
I went to a viewing party at a Muslim museum, and there were 2,000 people watching the game outside with it being projected on a wall.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. Are you kidding me, man? And I said it, like, I could have gone anywhere in the country, and the vibe would have been the same in any building anywhere.
We basically had... I think what was the highest number was like a third of the country basically.
Yeah.
Watching Game 5. I haven't seen the number for the latest one.
Yeah.
But I think that the sporting landscape in the country is going to be very interesting to monitor over the next few years because basketball was already so much on the rise, and I've said this a million times, but it is a wonderful sport. It is an accessible sport. You don't need to have money to play basketball. Like, it takes a pair of sneakers. Like, you got to have a ball, you got to show up at a court, you got to have a pair of sneakers, and if you're good, people are going to find you. You know, like, I'm not going to down talk other sports. I'm just saying there are accessibility issues with others that you don't really have in basketball. Basketball has problems with the AAU level and all these politics. Like, every sport now for kids has been taken over in a weird way by like parents and agents and all these weird coaches. But ultimately, like, just to get in is easy. And emulating a star who you can just see, like, they're wearing shorts and a T-shirt. They're not wearing a cage like a quarterback.
Like, it's so accessible.
They show emotion. They get to be themselves. And when they are themselves, they are embraced for that. There is a star power to Kawhi Leonard that is going to be. Sirt Zoe was on Good Show yesterday, and she said something that was just so awesome, where she was like, people are attracted to greatness. People gravitate to greatness. And Kawhi Leonard was great. And this is kind of my starting pitch for him, for him to stay, is that, like, Kawhi, you stay here. And you are going to watch in front of your very own eyes the transformation of an entire country in terms of gravitating to a new sport. Like, people kind of forget that this team has only been here for 25 years because it's felt so long in Toronto's history of, like, we grew up watching the Raptors suck, essentially, and then only a small little portion of it was, like, not embarrassing. And even the not embarrassing part was, like, always ended in real embarrassment, right?
Yes.
It was, like, Purple Dinosaur to who was always leaving to, like, what crappy player they signed and tried to get the Hedo Turkoglu's and the Jermaine O'Neal.
Will they beat LeBron to getting swept by LeBron?
Totally.
Yeah.
And now that's just like completely flipped on its ear, and you just look at how fast, how incredible it is that a sport came into a country that was so small at the time, so little nationally, to where it's at now, 25 years later. Like, it's one of the modern success stories. Where else in the world has this happened?
No, man.
Where else in the world has it populated like this?
Nope.
Another sport through a professional league.
Nope.
Like, it's one of the more incredible stories in all of professional sports.
I was going through this week. I was at my parents' house. We were just going through old albums. 'Cause I was like, oh man, like we used like my 8th birthday party the year after the Raptors were a thing was a Raptors party, and people that came were like still didn't know what that was. You know, they didn't really know what was going on. But like I fell in love with the sport immediately, and so we were looking at old pictures and to see that, like, I wish I had all that stuff still. You know, because that the vintageness, every part of that, like. I remember it so vividly, like wanting to play basketball and everybody wanting to play hockey at my party. And so we just ended up playing hockey instead. And sure, I would beat them at that as well. But like, I really just wanted to play basketball, man. And I remember on my street being the first one with a hoop on the garage. Like, it wasn't a thing still. And this was in the 90s, like late 90s, when this team was starting to finally, you know, gain some sort of relevance. And like, now we're like, not to take the Drake part of it, but like now we're here, man, like as a country. Now we're here with no voice because the Raptors won the NBA. Like, I can't believe it, man. Like, actually, this is the first time since it happened that I think I'm processing what actually happened.
Dude.
And like,
and
it's
what it means.
crazy, man. It is crazy that this country came together through this thing. The number I bet will be like, you know, I think, what was it, 6 something that watch an average?
In the States, it was up. We have the U.S. rating on.
Yeah.
They just sent it to me.
Yeah, and which is fine, but in this country, I think it'll be over 10. I think it'll be over 10 averaged watching this game. Think about a third of your country rallying around anything. Good God, that's amazing, man.
So both my parents are basketball coaches.
Yep.
And that's how, like, I fell in love with the game as a kid, right?
You
like
good?
That was okay.
Okay.
I mean, I'm like a 5'10"
I
white
know,
guy
yeah.
from the
There's some
Yukon.
limitations, sure.
So I think, like, based on my, like, what my ceiling could have been as a player, based on physical limitations and geography, I kind of hit it.
Yep.
Like, I don't think I left much on the table.
Peaked. Yep, go.
But both my parents taught me to love the game. I'll always appreciate them for it. I grew up also playing hockey,
Yeah.
but I was the kid that in elementary school was wearing like a Seattle Supersonics
Yes,
jacket.
yes.
And that
Yes.
was like such a crazy thing. People knew who Michael Jordan was when I was a kid, but that was like it.
Yep.
Like, that was it. You'd be like, oh, yeah, Michael Jordan, because we got games on WGN. And you would see like a couple
That's
Jordan
it.
games,
Sure.
and like that was it.
Sure.
And that's all people knew. They were like, oh, yeah, basketball, Michael Jordan. And now it's a sport that's going to be like, we've got 13 Canadians in the NBA. We've got R.J. Barrett on the way. I think this draft is going to be...
There's going to be 5 Canadians that could go in the first round, right? Like, that's going to...
It's just...
That's exactly
got
the effect.
watch parties in
That's
Regina.
the effect, man.
It's just...
We have Canada playing in the World Championship this summer. Like, if everybody plays, that's a competitive as hell team, man.
I know this is going to be corny as hell. Are
Go
you
for
ready
it.
for this?
Now, we're all about the cheese today.
The one thing I've always believed in with sport is just the unification power of it. Like, we focus way too much on like the stories of like alternate fan bases get into something, or like some people got in a scuffle, like the Boston Bruins thing the other night, right? They're fighting the stands. It's like, look at dumb sports fans. Overall, look at the way that this has brought people together across the country. Like, I'm emotional just thinking about it. It's like our whole country came together and they wanted to be together. Like, those watch parties, they don't happen for other things.
Yeah.
Like, you watch Game of Thrones by yourself.
Exactly.
With, you know, you want to be with your popcorn and you want to be just alone with your drink, nobody bothering you. For basketball, for sport, people want to be around each other. People want to celebrate it with each other. They want to feel those emotions. It adds to everything. And our country had that, and they had this moment. It's just like, it's the best. It's the best.
For Game 4, I went to 4 viewing parties in 4 quarters. I tried to brave the city and try to do that like east to west. Started, like I said, at a museum, then BMO Field, then movie theater, and then Mississauga Celebration Square. And the, you know, for all the different reasons people were there, the one reason that was consistent amongst all 4 was that we wanted to watch this with somebody. We wanted to be part of this with somebody, because we don't fully understand what this means, but together we know this is big, man. And Guy, that is beautiful. That is just beautiful to watch. And like,
for the rest of the world to look at it too, like a country like Canada that's so multicultural and so diverse.
Exactly, man.
Like downtown last night, that was like, and it happened to me after Game 6 against the Bucks too. But all I could think of was like, how many times in human history has there been a like group of people that are this diverse all together at one time that were just all celebrating together? Like, that's big.
Beautiful, man.
It's big. It's so much bigger. Like, don't ever let people like, Again, we're getting too preachy. We got to wrap this up. But
No,
don't
no.
ever let people tell you, like, sport isn't important. Like, don't ever let it tell you sport is important
Yeah.
because, like, you don't get that without it.
Yep.
I think that's a good place to finish.
I agree.
All right. Thanks to everybody for listening. Championship Parade, Monday in the city. Championship Parade. Championship Parade.
I can't believe it.
Monday in the city of Toronto. I'll be down there with Good Show.
I'll be down there.
You'll
with
be
the
down
camera.
there.
Find me. Just find me.
You're like,
Trust me. I'll
yeah,
find you.
yeah.
I'll find you guys. Don't worry.
I can't wait, man. Hey, thanks for doing this, Faze. It was
course,
awesome.
man.
Donovan,
Championship
you
edition.
and your best friend at the wedding.
Hope the wedding was good,
Shouts
DJ.
to you. Hope it was open bar. Hope it wasn't cash bar, buddy. Ooh,
Yes.
boy, that'd be tough.
Yes.
This is Free Association. Subscribe, review, leave at JD Bunkis, at Faizal Khamisa. That is yours. Or is yours
At
Faizal?
SN Faizal Khamisa. They'll find
you
it.
got the
man.
SN, eh?
You
See,
know.
you know you have
branding.
job security when you throw SN in there. Like, I know it's like any day now, it could all be gone. Don't even bother throwing the SN in. Anyways, follow us, leave a review, and thanks for everybody that's been listening to these things. It means the world.